Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we are popping the hood on two incredibly unique compositions. They're called Solar Glyph Part 1 and Part 2, and we're going to explore that fascinating space where art literally meets neuroscience. You see, we aren't just listening to music today. We're actually decoding how these two specific tracks are structurally engineered to physically map, stimulate, and then soothe your brain. If you've ever wondered why certain sounds make you feel completely revitalized, ready to take on the world, while others practically put you right to sleep, well, you are in exactly the right place.
So let's start with a really big question. Can a soundscape actually physically alter your brain? I know, it sounds a little bit like science fiction, doesn't it? But this intersection of sound therapy and psychological well-being, it's not just some woo-woo theory. It's a measurable physical phenomenon. We are looking at a space where precise audio engineering becomes a legitimate tool for structural rebuilding in the mind. This isn't just about, throwing on some white noise to block out the traffic outside. This is about intentional, targeted frequency design that interacts directly with your nervous system.
The science behind all of this really boils down to one absolutely crucial concept: neuroacoustics. This is the domain that explores exactly how specific structural progressions and tonal footprints physically and emotionally impact the human brain. Just to be super clear, we are analyzing frequency therapy here, not just your standard ambient music. The creators of the Solar Glyph tracks used algorithmic precision to craft these soundscapes. Literally every single sweep, every bass drop, every little panning effect, it's all a calculated neuroacoustic trigger. And it's designed to create this immersive environment that actually commands a biological response from your body.
Okay, let's dive right into this. First up, we've got Part 1, Solar Glyph 1. And this one is focused entirely on what we call kinetic structuring. Think of this track as an audiovisual stimulant. Like, if your brain is a computer, Solar Glyph 1 is essentially the defragmentation software. It's explicitly designed to shift your consciousness into this highly structured, awakened, and hyper-focused state. So breaking it down, the entire harmonic footprint of Solar Glyph 1 clusters really prominently around one single magic number, 528 Hz. Now, in the world of frequency therapy, 528 is massive. It's widely associated with transformation, core structural repair, and even neuroregeneration. So by grounding the track's dominant harmonics in this specific frequency, the composition creates an acoustic environment that basically tells your brain, hey, it's time to repair, align, and focus.
And then, building right on top of that, we have our secondary harmonic at 417 Hz. While 528 is doing all the heavy lifting for regeneration, 417 acts almost like a solvent. It breaks up cognitive rigidity so that your mind could just flow freely. Historically, it's been associated with processing emotional blockages and facilitating real change. Put them together, and these two frequencies create an incredibly potent foundation for mental activation. Now, looking at the actual structural architecture, this 5-minute track is anchored by this really foundational 60 to 90 Hz sub-bass drone. And let me tell you, you don't just hear this tone, you literally feel it vibrating. It provides this tactile physical resonance that actively grounds you. Layered on top of that, you have these dense, organic liquid assets. Imagine the hyper-crisp, high-fidelity sound of cascading water, paired with these sharp geometric synthesizers. But the real magic, the secret sauce, is in the wide stereo field. It uses deliberate, rhythmic panning from left to right. This isn't just a cool stereo trick to make it sound wide. It's designed to create brainwave entrainment. It's explicitly engineered to force hemispheric synchronization right inside your brain.
So how does this actually play out over the 5 minutes? Well, we start out in what's called the subacoustic void. It's this soft rolling sub-bass that sets a really meditative space. But that pretty quickly gives way to the liquid current, which mimics crystalline, moving fluids with just absolute clarity. As the momentum builds, boom, we hit rhythmic ignition. A crisp, minimalist electronic pulse starts driving the whole track forward with really sharp precision. All of this swells up into the harmonic peak. Synthesizer pads open up into these huge, wide major chords, and it delivers this profound sense of mental alignment and release. And then finally, that rhythmic pulse systematically peels away into an atmospheric recess, leaving it with this smooth, lingering stillness. Honestly, it is the perfect architectural arc for sparking your focus.
Okay, now take a deep breath, because as we shift our focus over to the second track, Solar Glyph 2, I want you to imagine stepping out of that bright, highly structured laboratory we were just in and walking into a vast, ancient, candlelit cathedral. We are moving from the kinetic mind straight into the parasympathetic body. This track is all about cinematic release. It's a deliberate, dramatic shift in intent, acting as this expansive, restorative sanctuary for deep psychological integration.
The shift in the actual acoustic architecture here is pretty dramatic. Clocking in at about 5.5 minutes, the foundation drops even lower to a visceral 50 to 70 Hz threshold. And instead of those crisp geometric pulses we heard before, now we're totally immersed in vowel-like vocal formants and these ethereal ancient human choirs. Crucially, we also get these cavernous acoustic Z-axis reverbs. So remember how the first track moved left to right to sync your brain hemispheres? Well, this track moves front to back. The sounds actually feel like they originate miles away before slowly expanding forward to completely envelop you.
And the tuning strategy? Totally different here too. The overarching structural tuning for Solar Glyph 2 aligns with the natural resonance of 432 Hz. You've probably heard of this frequency before. People famously call it the natural tuning of the universe. By tuning the sweeping orchestral strings and pads to 432 Hz, the soundscape instantly takes on a noticeably warmer, softer, and just way more organic character, especially compared to the bright, clinical precision of track 1. But nestled right inside that warm tuning is a really heavy reliance on the 396 Hz band. Why 396? Well, neuroacoustically, 396 Hz is an absolute workhorse for the parasympathetic nervous system. It creates a massive contrast to the kinetic energy of the first track. Historically, it's been utilized for deep physical grounding, actively releasing anxiety, and emotionally speaking, turning grief into joy. When you combine those ancient choral textures with this specific frequency, the result is this overwhelming sensation of emotional lightness and physical safety. Walking through the progression of this track, it's really just a masterpiece of emotional pacing. It opens in cosmic suspension. These incredibly slow-moving drones immediately prompt you to slow your breathing. That swells into a cinematic evolution, filled with these warm synthesizers and really expansive orchestral strings. But the absolute centerpiece of the track is the choir awakening. Massive, wordless vocal harmonies swell up so dramatically, it creates a feeling of physical suspension. This builds right into the radiant apex, basically blanketing you in a warm, resonant wall of sound that feels profoundly protective and deeply cathartic. Ultimately, those massive walls of sound gently decay, completely dissolving back into silence and psychological stillness. And this brilliantly illustrates the true genius of the whole Solar Glyph project. These are not just two random tracks. They are a meticulously engineered sonic duality. You literally cannot have the peak activation of the first track without the profound grounding of the second. They're two sides of the exact same neurological coin. When you actually look at their acoustic vectors side by side, the contrast is beautifully clear. Activation and clarity on one side is perfectly, seamlessly balanced by grounding and peace on the other. We trade the ASMR-like clarity of the liquid assets and crisp pulses for the huge cavernous depth of ethereal choirs and vast strings. And neurologically, which is really the most important part, we shift from hemispheric synchronization and creative sparking in track 1 straight into deep meditation and anxiety reduction in track 2. It is an entire cycle of the human cognitive experience, perfectly mapped out in sound. So what's our core takeaway from this whole neuroacoustic deep dive? Well, both of these tracks exhibit flawless engineering tailored specifically for immersive environments, but they serve very, very distinct purposes. Solar Glyph 1 acts as your audiovisual stimulant. It's the tool you reach for when you need to structure your mind, spark some creativity, and lock into a deeply focused state. Conversely, Solar Glyph 2 is your restorative sanctuary for somatic grounding. Used together, they form a complete on-demand toolkit for managing your mental state. I want to leave you with this one final kind of provocative thought. If a precisely engineered 10-minute soundscape can structurally rebuild your focus and literally dissolve your anxiety, what other hidden frequencies are shaping your mind every single day? We're constantly swimming in a sea of acoustics, from the hum of your refrigerator to the actual physical design of your office space. Understanding neuroacoustics isn't just about finding better music to listen to. It's about finally waking up to the invisible architecture that governs exactly how we feel, think, and live. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep your ears open.